In recent years, there have been sides that have fallen out of the top 8 that have rebounded the next year and made the top 4. Think Port Adelaide last year, who are now a contender, even though their last few games haven't been to the quality that we would expect for a variety of reasons. However, it's the other South Australian club that is the focus of this video. I've had a bit of a soft spot for the Crows this year and the last couple of years. I've really enjoyed what Matty Nix has been doing, and I love their young core. So Adelaide sitting in 11th spot, even though the competition has been fairly even, was a little bit of a mystery to me, given how well they've played against the likes of Collingwood, and the fact that they have put the bad teams away as well. So what's caused this? Is it actually a bad thing? And why I am claiming right here and now that Adelaide will be a top 4 side in 2024. As always, guys, if you liked the video, please like the video. Subscribe if you haven't already. Join the Daz Talks Footy family, aiming for 1,500 subscribers before Grand Final Day, and only you can help make that happen. So if you could go and do that, I would greatly appreciate it. And this video is sponsored by Capital Edge Australia, who have been fantastic supporters of the channel over the last couple of months. More about them at the end of the video and in the description below, so go and check that out. The Crows, though, like we say, is it that big of a mystery as to why they are 11th? Now, yes, the fact that the competition is so even is a big reason for that. They are only a game and a half off Carlton in 5th, and they have basically the same percentage, with one having 117.1 and the other having 117.2 at the conclusion of round 21 of the 2023 season. Now, the way that the Crows are playing is pretty exciting. They've got a defense a little bit like the Giants that goes a little bit unheralded. Now, they don't have a key defender of the quality of a Sam Taylor, but the sum of the parts are awesome. Now, we know how young and exciting that midfield can be. Dawson is nowhere near as old as you think he is. Rory Laird is still only 29. It's not like he's falling off the face of the planet. There's been a resurgence through Matt Crouch this year, who will turn 29 next year as well, and we know how exciting the youngsters in Rankin, Rochelle, and these guys, and I'll talk all about that in a little bit. Now, the first reason why Adelaide have struggled a bit this year that is completely out of their control is the fixture. Now, I know that a lot of footy fans do have gripes with the fixture for a multitude of reasons and not what this video is about, but if you take the current top 4 and the reigning premiers of Geelong, after next week, in which Adelaide play Brisbane, they will have played the top 4 and the reigning premiers 8 times. 8 times, and they're currently 3-4 with that game against Brisbane to come, like I mentioned. It's extraordinary, and the fact that they've been able to test themselves against some of the better teams in the competition just goes to show how close they are. And considering their 2 really close losses to Collingwood and a really close loss to Melbourne just recently at the MCG as well, there is no reason to think that the Crows can't make that jump next year. It is incredible to think about that such a young side who, of course, after the disaster of the post-2017 Grand Final, thought it would take so long to get back here. It's pretty cool to see, I'm not going to lie to you. Their style of play is great. They're handball happy between the arcs at times, but they're a territory-based team, and when you've got the Texan in such good form, how can you blame them? Now, my big gripe with the Crows at the moment is for the last 6 weeks, they have really taken Rochelle and Rankin and their quicker mids out of that third midfielder spot to go with Laird and Jordan Dawson. And considering both of those guys are All-Australian quality, or in Laird's case, already an All-Australian defender, having Dawson come off the halfback flank for a little bit in a quarter and having Laird, Matt Crouch, and Isaac Rankin at a stoppage really does bring some X-factor and speed that I think is needed for this Adelaide midfield to take that next step. And whether they go and draft one with their first selection this season, I believe the Crows need to trade up because they've got 3 picks inside the top 30. I think they need to package 2 of those up and maybe something in the future and get into that top 6, 7, 8 spot. I would be targeting Gold Coast's first pick if I was the Crows, and considering there might be a salary dump situation there with a guy like Braden Fiorini, who, although he doesn't fit what Adelaide need at the moment, that top 10 pick absolutely does, and they can try and get themselves a midfielder that they are desperately looking for as someone who can bring that X-factor speed on the outside. Or maybe a guy like Colton Tholstrop does fall to their first pick anyway. However, The big rise up the ladder for mine is they are going to get an easier fixture if they make finals. Now, again, they're no guarantee to not make the finals. That game against West Coast in the last game of the season is going to be uber important. That Brisbane game next week is going to be uber important. And I think they play Sydney. I'll edit it if I'm wrong here, in that second last game as well. They're going to need to win 3 of them, all 3 to make the 8, I believe, considering how tight the competition is and the fact that we've got elimination finals and basically throughout the entirety of the last 3 weeks. The other exciting part for the Crows is that their age and experience is nowhere near what you think it is. They are bottom 3 for average age and average experience. Now, they're obviously going to go up as their players age next year, and getting more experience into this list. And it's not necessarily getting it into the older guys. Like Hawthorn, Adelaide do not have a lot of veterans on their list. Now, taking Paul Seedsman out of this list because we're not sure where his health is at, and it would seem unlikely from an outsider with no knowledge on the topic that he would play on again. Going into next year, by the end of next year, the only guys on their list that are going to be over the age of 30 are Tex Walker, Rory Sloane, Brodie Smith, and Rory Laird. That's it. And the rest is being built upon a very exciting young core. A young core that can help elevate to the next level. A bit like Port Adelaide, who have risen on the back of some elite young talent and their experienced players chipping in when necessary. No one at Port is having the kind of year that Taylor Walker is having. No youngsters at the Crows is having the kind of year that Butters and Rosie are having. Although Laird and Dawson are in unbelievable good form at the moment, but you can aim for success in 2 different ways. You have to work with what you've got, not with what you don't have, in order to be successful in footy. It's like winning a game of footy. You need to stick to your structure for as long as you can, because if you treat every game like you're just trying to beat the opponent on the day, things are going to fall and fall over quickly. It's a gripe that I have with the Western Bulldogs, but they're not the topic of this video. Another reason why I can see the Crows jumping up the ladder is a bit of a deep dive into their numbers. Being a good young team is well and truly fine. I look at my Hawks, for example. Good young team, but 3rd last. 2 things can coexist at once. And there are some metrics that the Hawks are doing really, really well. There are a lot of metrics, like conceding coast-to-coast goals, for example, that Hawthorn are doing horrifically. However, there are some key metrics that I believe lead to successful football teams that Adelaide are doing really well. And here they are on the screen there. Now, the coaches' votes thing for mine is really interesting because the Crows, at this point in time, haven't won enough games, I don't think, to justify the fact that they're 11th on the ladder but 7th in coaches' votes. It's extraordinary to me. And the fact that their young depth is showing off, but they are showing toughness in those stats, which is why, with an easier fixture, if they don't make the 8 this year, is going to be paramount against Hawthorn, Fremantle, West Coast, and North Melbourne. Adelaide are 4-0 against the bottom 4. 4-0. If you take 2 games out of that 3-4 record, plug them into the 4-0 record they've currently got against the worst teams in the competition, as we said with how close the ladder is, they'd be 5th. They'd be 5th. It's extraordinary. It's extraordinary. And it's why I'm jumping on. Absolutely am jumping on. It's great. I love the fact that Matty Nicks has got an identity now. You know what you're going to get from Adelaide. And sure, they've had some polarising losses this year. No one's hiding from that. They have played horrifically in a few patches. Name me a team that hasn't played it horrifically at least once this year. You can't do it. So the often common detractor of, yeah, but what about, you cherry pick 1 or 2 games? Yeah, but I'd argue that you could also do it the other way and look at a couple of games where they've beaten really good opposition. Look at the way they've taken down the Power in both showdowns. You got to look at this thing as a great sample size. And I am. I love everything that they are producing at the moment. And speaking of that young talent, because you need young talent coming through. We're seeing it at the moment with a team like the Tigers, the team like West Coast, who won flags in the last few seasons. But as your veterans get older, who are the youngsters coming through? Richmond are finding out pretty quickly that they're lacking in the key forward department. Adelaide don't need to worry about that because although they've got the Texan and Richmond have got Rewalt, Adelaide have also got the next 2 ready to go in Fogarty and Riley Thilthorpe. Are they both a finished product yet? No. Fogarty, very good player and absolutely automatic from a set shot. It is beautiful to watch. Absolutely beautiful to watch. But this young talent is extraordinary. Now, not everyone on this particular list needs to play 25 games in order for the Crows to win a flag. You need depth, of course you do. But there's something that stands out amongst these players. They are either ultra tough with good skills, or they're ultra skillful with a good bit of toughness. Around the footy, at their best, the Crows have feasted on some sides around the ball, and 91 tackles against the Suns on the weekend is just the epitome of what I'm talking about. They won ugly, and winning ugly is a sign of good teams. Sometimes you just need to scrape by. Not all the time, don't recommend doing it all the time, but sometimes. But the Crows, I'm buying all of the Adelaide stock that I can and proclaiming as of the second week of August that by this time, 12 months from now, Adelaide will be in the 4 and playing off in at least 2 finals next season. How do you guys see the Crows? Comment below, let me know whether you are a Crows fan or not a Crows fan. I'm interested to hear your thoughts. Make sure you share the video with either an Adelaide fan or a footy-loving fan who have or haven't subscribed to the channel. Let's get as many people as we can around these videos. If you haven't checked out my tribute to Buddy's career, it took 2 extra days to come out, and that's affected on the algorithm badly, so if you could please go and watch that, I really appreciate it. It's probably the best video I've ever done, and hopefully more people can get around it. And of course, I thank the sponsor of this video, Capital Edge Australia, getting everyday Aussie started on their investment property journey, creating property through wealth through education, no holding in stock, so Capital Edge are not trying to sell you property at all. They're wanting you on your way to develop the strategies, financial plans, and your financial goals in order to bring in generational wealth into state, local, whatever you're looking for. Capital Edge are the ones to go to. You guys have been fantastic. Can't wait to see you again on Wednesday night. Hope your team had a win on the weekend, or if not, are looking forward to a big round 22. See you very soon. Goodbye.